Good morning. This is Ryan Williams from the Will Robbins Golf Academy here at Campus Commons in Sacramento. Hopefully you've already watched the video that talks about our good words in the setup for chipping, and that's narrow, tall, and close. Now, I always begin my chipping lessons with my students by asking, well, what makes a good chipper? And I love asking that question because that tends to lead me toward that student's belief system. I hear a lot of things like, well, it's being able to obviously chip it close or get up and down, but it's, well, how do we do that? As in, like, what skills do I need to be proficient at to get my ball to either go, well, hopefully in the hole. That's always fun when we chip in. But how can we average as close to the hole as possible? Because if I've averaged close proximity from just off the green, I make a lot more putts from 3 feet than I do from 4, and I make a lot more from 4 than I do from 8. Obviously, that goes without saying. So what skills do I need to be a great chipper? And in my opinion, there's 3, maybe 4. But the main 3 is we have to put the right club in our hands. Now, once we've done that, we have to be able to hit our landing spot. That's number 2. And then we have to control how far the golf ball rolls after that. Now, in chipping, and if we define chipping as a shot from just off the green in which the ball will spend more time along the ground than it does in the air, then controlling how far the ball releases is probably the most important part of chipping. Now, that said, what's the simplest way that I can control how far a ball releases? I can either use the same club and add loft or take it away, or I can use the same motion relatively. Obviously, there's going to be a small little adjustments, but I can change the club in my hands. I think that's the simplest way to change how much loft is in my hands, which will change how far the golf ball rolls. So the next question should be, how do I practice that? How can I adequately put the right club in my hands? Is there a way to tell? Is there a system? Do I just eyeball it, like carry versus roll and all that stuff? How can I practice hitting my landing spot? And how can I learn to control how far the ball releases? Like, what goes into all those 3 skills? Now, in terms of club selection, a man named Paul Runyon in the 70s gave us a system called the Rule of 12, which I think is brilliant. And all it supposes is that a sand wedge will roll the same distance it carries, pitching wedge twice the distance it carries, 9-iron 3 times, 8-iron 4 times, and so on. Now, obviously, that's all dependent on your lie and how firm and fast the greens are, what our landing conditions are like, whether it's uphill or downhill and all that stuff. But it gives us a nice starting point. So let's just assume, for the sake of easy math, that there's 5 paces to your landing spot and 5 paces to the hole. The first thing that you should do when you go play a golf course is figure out how firm or fast these greens are. So if you put your coin at 5 paces away from you on a flat hole and the hole is 5 paces further beyond your coin, the best way we can practice those 3 skills we have in chipping is by trying to hit that coin and get your golf ball to stop around the hole. Now, if putting the right club in my hands is done by using the Rule of 12, then being able to hit my landing spot, remember that's our second skill, I use a very, very simple cue, and that's just to point the toe at my club where I want the ball to land on every shot. Now, what you'll find is if you really stick your finish and you look like this every time, your ball is not going to miss that coin by very much. Okay? I promise. And then the third skill is controlling how far the golf ball releases. Now, where that comes from is the amount of loft you have on your club. Now, if we want to use the Rule of 12, you probably might have already thought is that, well, it kind of depends on 2 skills. Like, if I have to hit a landing spot and then control how far the ball releases, I better practice those 2 things. Now, what controls how far the ball rolls is how much loft is on the club. So if you're counting on a sand wedge to roll the same distance it carries, well, if it started with 54 degrees of loft at address, it better have 54 degrees at impact. Okay? So the reason I like that drill with the coin on the ground is that brings all of them together. Can I hit my coin? Can I control how far the ball rolls? And what you'll find is that you start to hit that coin, or just have your golf ball dancing around it, however much you miss that coin by is how much you'll miss the hole by. really, really fun. So remember, we're talking about defining an approach to chipping, and our 3 skills we need to have to be a great chipper are putting the right club in our hands, hitting our landing spot, controlling how far the ball releases.